I stand up, I get up, mapelu moya shona kona. Shobuluza focus, come on, be a go-getter. Ashona kona, stay focused. Opportunities, you gotta get this, you gotta fight this skills.
Awuthi-ke siqale kanje uhlelo namhlanje ngicela wonke ama-hustlers athathe isandla sabo sokudla balibeke phezu kwama-CV baphinde lento engizoyisho ngithi ngiyathembisa ukuthi ngizohlala ngipressa ngiphusha ngiphanda noma ngaba nzima kangakanani, and that is the truth and nothing but the truth. Now you're all sworn in. Sesingaqala-ke ngohlelo ngivisa abantu basemakhaya ngithi sanibonani and a salute to all my hustlers. Igama uMetleleshomo uhlelo iSpani. Mawubheka-ke amaphephandaba noma-ke ubheka indaba zaku-TV uyazi ukuthi khona indaba esematheni yomgijimi wakhona la ekhaya Oscar Pistorius bafethu lokwenze intsha eningi ithatha uthando for ezemithetho. Yabona le career ke idinga umuntu ke okwazi ukuba analytical aphinde futhi abe ne good communication skill njenge hustler lethu yena ke uSash Vika Patha. Le ntokazi lapha eThekwini ithi manje sefuna ukushintsha ama career from kumsakazi wasemsakazweni iyongena lapha ke to join the legal justice team bafethu. Ngiyazibuza ukuthi uze kanjani from entertainment ukuthi ayongena lapha enkantolo athi ngiqhele intokazi ithi ukuzichaza as she states her case. Name Sash Vika Patha, age 30, education grade 12, merit exemption, tertiary qualification LLB degree, University of South Africa. Former work experience, producer and presenter, SABC, Lotus FM. Position applied for, candidate attorney.
After schooling, the first year, I was undecided what I wanted to do. So I auditioned for a show. It was called Mandrax Munyama and the Suitcase Carriers. And I auditioned and I got the role to be one of the ladies carrying drugs in a condom. So that's what I did for that year. It was actually a drug awareness campaign as well as a comedy show. So then I decided after that year it was time for me to concentrate on my career and decide what I want to do in life.
I quite clearly remember she went to enroll in to UNISA and I said to her, please, I want you to become a teacher or get into the media field. And she went with her dad. She came back, she said to me, Mom, I didn't do what you asked me to do. Instead, I opted for law.
Got home that evening and she was like, why did you register for that? You were supposed to do teaching. But I knew at that point that this is something that interested me and this is what I wanted to do.
And I wasn't happy at that stage, but today I'm proud.
Growing up is quite interesting. It was always, well, she's always been the annoying sister. I think she's used the older brother to her full advantage. She's been very spoiled. But we've always had a close relationship growing up. She's more artistic, whereas I'm more analytical, good with numbers. So we kind of bounce ideas off each other.
Growing up, I was very different, if I might say, because I enjoyed reading, puzzles, and music. I love music, and that would have to be classical music. So I was involved with various cultural organizations, and thereafter I started singing classical music, and those were the type of things that interested me as growing up. I'd go to the library on a Saturday and only borrow books that involved mystery and crime, and my parents would ask me, who do you plan on killing? But I think it all boiled down to my interest for this field, and perhaps that's what led me to make a decision of becoming a lawyer.
From a very early age, she was a very independent child. She always fended for herself, never relied on us for anything. If she can do something, she's going to do it.
one of my shows, it was Comedy Mania, I was given the chance to then be employed at a radio station, and I started off as the traffic presenter, then was the producer of that show. It was the afternoon drive time show, and then I was given my own shows, a midnight shift, 12 to 3. So I used to work from 3 to 6 during the afternoons, and then 12 to 3 at night, and then a Sunday show as well, which I loved to bits. But during that time, I lost my dad. So studies came to a standstill. I did not want to complete this degree because I knew when I went to register and stuff, it was something that I shared with him. So completing this degree was not for me anymore, and I took that year off. I decided I need to decide now where to from here. Fortunately, I had the radio station to keep me occupied, so I went along with that, and then I decided, no, I can't go on like this anymore. I need to decide. I've put in all these years of studies. Am I going to quit? Am I going to give up? Or what am I going to do? And I decided, okay, this is it. I'm going to further my studies. That was how I relocated to Johannesburg, and yeah, decided, okay, fine, it's time to complete the studies. Well, tomorrow I have an interview with Nika Mashlangu attorneys. The butterflies have already started kicking in because I've not been exposed to anything of that nature before, so I really don't know what to expect, but I have my fingers crossed that hopefully it all goes well, and I can serve my articles with them.
It's going to be an interesting long day for her. Finally get to go through what I have to, getting up at 8 every morning and coming back at 5. I wish you the best, and I'm sure she'll be very successful.
As a mother, I am nervous, but at the same time, I'm proud and I'm holding thumbs for her that everything will work out for her. And I know she will succeed because she's a fighter and she will get through to her.
Qondile ukuthi intokazi iyakwazi ukusebenzisa umqondo nokuthi iyakwazi ukwenza izinto zenzeke. Njengoba ke ithembe kangaka ngabe lokho kuzomsebenzela. Njengoba ke intokazi iyohamba yoshaya interview yakhe nenkampani noma ke ilaw firm ehamba phambili khona la eGoli ebizwa ngokuthi iNika Mashlangu Attorneys bafuna ke i-candidate attorney entsha. Ntokazi uthe ufuna ukuba umeli akuyimele.
Good morning, Sash. How are you?
Well, thanks, Mr. Nika, and you?
Not too bad. Thank you for responding to our invitation to meet this morning. I was particularly concerned in meeting with you. I've had the opportunity of going through your CV, and there were certain questions that I wanted to discuss with you. So if you're comfortable with that, we'll be able to go through.
Sure, more than comfortable.
All right. As I said, I went through your CV, and I found a lot of things quite interesting. With the position that, as you know, it's a candidate attorney and previously used to be called an article clerk. So largely what the person does is the candidate is in training to ultimately become an attorney. And we as a firm of attorneys are selective as to who we choose to fit that profile. So one of the reasons that I looked at your CV in particular was the background that you had. So tell me a little bit about your employment background prior to studying at university.
Okay, I've previously been employed for a radio station, quite a popular radio station, and I was the producer of a primetime show, the afternoon drive show, and I've also presented various shows at that radio station.
Was there any particular reason that you applied to our firm in particular?
Well, I've heard a lot about Nika Mashlangu, and I thought it's best that I receive my training under such a popular company.
Now, as a candidate attorney, what is your understanding of the type of training that you will receive if we are to consider you as a candidate?
Well, it's basically everything. What I've heard is, and what I gauge is, what you learn at university is different from what you have to apply. It's so I have to learn everything under Nika Mashlangu attorneys.
The work of a candidate attorney is not your proverbial 9-to-5 job. Often you got to come in early, and very often you got to stay later at work, come in on weekends, sometimes even on Sundays. Often you probably have to work the entire weekend. So it's a very challenging type of job, because you'll find during your employment you seem to have no life, so to speak. How do you think you're going to adapt to that type of situation?
Well, it is the training that I require, so I'm prepared to go the extra mile and say goodbye to weekends.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. At Nika Mashlangu Attorneys, what we do, we have a huge conveyancing section. So you would be dealing a lot with conveyancing matters which deal with property being sold, properties being bequeathed in terms of wills, passing on to heirs. That deals with the conveyancing aspect. We do lots of litigation, which is high court and magistrates court litigation, which we attend to for various clients, and that's what we regard as civil matters. And then my personal forte is I do a lot of estate planning. In addition to those areas of law, you'd be exposed to criminal work, although we don't do too much of criminal work. You'd also be exposed to road accident fund claims, which are commonly called motor vehicle accident claims. And then other aspects of corporate law, which deal with the formation of companies and trusts. So these are types of areas that we attend to here at Nika Mashlangu and that you'd be exposed to. Okay, Sash, what I'm going to do now, this is the second leg of the interview. I'm going to give you a few tasks and see how you perform at these tasks. This is the practical part of what you have to do. They're not very complex. Some of them are observation aspects. Please don't be nervous. It's just to give us an indication of how you cope. There's no real right or wrong answer. Whatever that I allocate to you is going to be finally checked by me. So I'm going to mentor you through the process. I just want to see how you perform. So if you're comfortable with that, we can now proceed to start the first task.
Sure, I'm more than ready.
Good.
Sash o na le energy ene hape sa ana le experience ya mosebetsi o bua hantle o tseba se a se batlang ma hustlers ko interview o lokela go jwetsa mohiri wa gago gore ke eng ka ha company se buang le wena gobaneng o batla wa party ya company eo ene Sash ha se hatella seo se seng hape ne ke ratile gore a highlight passion le lerato le anang le lona for tsa molao ke eng se a se ratang ka molao ha e gore go etsa o tsoro a kgethe fela over and above that yena o ya itshepa maitshwaro le maikarabelo a hae ke tse batlagalang mona lefapeng lena ma hustlers mosebetsi o bohlokwa o lokela go make sure gore nature ya mosebetsi e tsamaelana le nature ya hao ene gape di values tsa mosebetsi ke di values tsa hao ka mora papatso re ilo lekola gore ke eng menyetla e leng teng lefapeng lena ene gape Sash lena o tla ba a tobana le first task ya hae ya tsa molao Mac lena o tla le iSpani queue ya hae e leng gore e ilo go lekola your analytical abilities ha re kopane ka mora wa sena.
All rise in court. The Honorable Mac is presiding. Gimeleke ihasla lethu uSash Vika Patha intokazi ke efisa ukuba i-candidate attorney bafethu imatasatasa kwenye inkampani singahlela phansi cause the iSpani court is in session. Kodwa ngaphambi ukuthi siqhubele phambili asikubuze ke umbuzo wethu wakuSpani Q kule viki. This one is a bit of a riddle. Ihamba kanje. That attorney is my brother, testified the accountant. But the attorney testified he didn't have a brother. Who is lying? ubani uqamba amanga uyazi uthumela umkhafazo uthi #iSpani with a capital Q bese uya lapha na ku Twitter ku@iSpani on SABC1 bese ke uhlaba ke ngeyakho impendulo kodwa ngaphambi ukuthi sihlabele mgama athi ke sithole kabanzi noma ke sithole i-evidence ukuthi kahle kahle le career it's all about what as we say exhibit A.
Timbili ke tinhlobo tebameli la eNingizimu Afrika. Kunema-attorneys kanye nema-advocates. Ema-attorneys wona asebenza emafemini ebameli, abhale tifungo, abonane nema-clients. Bese-ke kuthi ema-advocates wona ngwona agcoka tingubo eme embi kwelijaji enkantolo. I-attorney ke ibhekeke ukuthi ibe nelwati lolwanele kudo tonke tinhlangothi temthetho. Uma licala liya enkantolo, i-attorney kumele itshele i-advocate ngalelo cala. Khona i-advocate itokhona kuya enkantolo iyophikisana ngalelo cala mayelana naletshelwe kona. Udothatha iminyaka lemine noma lesihlanu kucedza i-degree yakho ye-LLB. Ngaphambi kokuba uchibeke neminyaka lemibili usasebenza sakufundzela, lokhu kukwenta ukuthi utfole lwati lolwanele kulo msebenzi, usasebenza ngaphansi kwaloyo losebenzisana naye kukusita kukubonisa indlela ngaphambi kokuba uqale kusebenza ngemacala wena ngekwakho. Lwati lolwanele ngetemthetho lungaba kusito cishe kuyo yonke imisebenzi. Baholi kulo msebenzi labasebenza ngetekukhangisa kanye netepolitiki nabo banalo lwati ngetemthetho. Labafundzele bumeli imvamisa bagcina sebasebenza njengebaluleki betemthetho etindzaweni letinjengemabhange kanye naletinye nje tinkampani letingahle tidzinge lusito ngetemthetho. Lokho ke kulungela labo labangafuni kubhekana nemithwalo wemsebenzi kutebumeli kodwa phindze kwente basebenze ngawo umthetho. Lokunye ke lokungakhetha kwentiwa ngilabafundzele bumeli kuba yi-prosecutor. I-prosecutor ke ngummeli losebentela uhulumende kumele labantfu lababekwe emacala. I-prosecutor ibhekana netimo letibandi temithetho lokukunika indlela lemelula yokufundza umsebenzi phindze uthole nelwati lolwanele kukwende uthakasele nalo msebenzi.
Se khotsofatsang ka mosebetsi ena ke gore o ile hlompheha community ya hao ene hape o ka bana le practice ya hao go sebetsa le batho le go ba thusa empa di challenges tsa ona dithuto tsa teng mahaslas di ditelle o sebetsa bosiu o sebetsa di hours tse ditelle o sebetsa le ka di weekends ene hape go kenela lefapa lena go buima.
So isikhathi ukuthi manje uSasha angene gaming njengoba ke azohlangabeza kaye netask yakhe yokuqala which might be a little bit demanding. Ngithi ke manje isikhathi ukuthi manje simlola amapensela sibangele.
My name is Mervyn Naika and I run a firm called Naika Mahlangu Attorneys here in Rosebank. I studied at the University of Durban, Westville as it then was, and shortly after I finished the articles we were making plans between a friend of mine and myself to open our own practice, and I was given the opportunity of joining an existing firm as a qualified attorney. We mooted the idea of opening a branch office here, which we did, and I got to run the branch office. And that partnership endured for a while until I decided it was time that I took over the practice completely, and I changed the branding to Naika Mahlangu Attorneys, as you see it. Actually, in October this year will mark 20 years that Naika Mahlangu is in business, and it's a milestone that we're quite proud of. Okay, Sash, the first task that I have for you today is to do a letter of demand. Okay? You need to draw a letter of demand. I will take you through some of the background of the matter. The letter of demand is usually the first document that initiates any legal proceedings.
Okay.
It is a document where we demand that a person do something. What I'd require you to do is to do a draft letter of demand.
Draft.
And then I would edit that letter. I'm going to look at your efforts, and I'm going to edit it. The facts of the matter here are: our client is Meridian Court Body Corporate.
Meridian Court.
Body Corporate. I've written down, so I want to give you the file, but you just need to make mental notes of it.
Mm-hmm.
So they are a body corporate. They have a certain number of sectional title units that are in the complex. One of the owners of one of the units, which is unit number 4, the owner of that unit is Mr. Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith.
Mm-hmm.
He has not paid his levies for a long period of time, so you're going to write a letter of demand to him claiming payment of those monies. Now, the managing agents for Meridian Body Corporate is Marano Properties. They are the company that does the day-to-day administrative functions of the body corporate. So they have actually instructed us.
Okay.
We are their attorneys, and we are acting on behalf of them for Meridian Court.
Okay, and claiming from Anthony Smith.
You're claiming from Anthony Smith. So I want you to do a letter of demand, bring it back to me. We'll be able to have a look at it and see whether you've encapsulated the essentials of a letter of demand.
Okay, just to recap, we acting for Marano Prop and claiming from Mr. Anthony Smith.
No, we're acting for Meridian Body Corporate, Meridian, but we're being instructed by Marano Properties, who are the managing agents.
Okay.
Right, and we're claiming from Anthony Smith, who is the owner of unit number 4.
Perfect.
Next paragraph. Should we fail to hear from you by close of business today, it is our instructions to proceed with summons. Yours faithfully. Thank you. Hi, Sash. You managed to get that done?
Yes, Mr. Naik, I've drawn up the letter of demand. You can have a look at it.
Okay, now let me take you through what we need to do. When you send your letter of demand, you got the address, that's correct, but how is it going to go? If we put it in normal post, there's no guarantee that this person received it. So we're going to send this by registered post. Okay, that's correct. Happy with that. Okay, we don't say it is to our knowledge, we say it is our instructions. Okay? Okay, now I see you've asked that if the matter proceeds further, you're going to claim costs between attorney and client. Mm-hmm. Have you found that in the acknowledgement of debt, there was provision for costs to be claimed on an attorney-client?
Yes, that's the reason I stated that.
Okay, then all I want you to do is refer to the particular clause in the acknowledgement of debt.
So
you could say whatever you said, but before you start the sentence, say, in terms of clause XYZ, our client is entitled to claim costs on that.
Okay, so
right,
just
so I'm
add
just
that
going to put a little mark there for you to just add those words.
Mm-hmm.
Good, that part is fine.
Okay.
All right.
The comments given to me regarding the letter of demand, I did expect to be criticized with it because, as I said, it was my first experience, my first attempt ever, so I didn't know if I was on the right track or not, and I appreciated the criticism because it's constructive.
I would say as a first attempt, I was very pleased. Yes, there were a few errors and amendments that I needed to make, but the essential elements were there. A few of the things were semantics that were missing. There were one or two instances that I had to change or amend, but I was quite pleased that for a candidate that I put under pressure on the first day who has not done a letter of demand before.
Task ena e supa tlhokahalo ya memollo, tsebo ka botlalo ka ha case pele o ka beya molao wa hao. Ho tshwana le fela ha o etsa checklist mosebetsing, o lokela ho tseba dilo tse tlhokahalang pele o ka qala mosebetsi. And ha o fetsa o ye hape o cheke hore o di netefaditse o di loketse kaofela na. Mahaslas, thuto e kgolo ke teng mo o zamang go utlwisisa di skills tsa mosebetsi. Hobane the more o di tseba o mastera, thuto e ngata ha e sa leyo. Ke ka ho he ke re enjoy thuto ya mosebetsi le tsela ya yona, ha e bofelo ba yona. Ka mora papatso, Sashi yena o ilontsha di-summons pele ba ya mane ko court, and Maclena o tla le karabo ya iSpani queue ya hae e reng gore that attorney is my brother, ho tsho accountant. Then attorney e re no, I don't have a brother, ke mang ya buang maka. Ha re kopaneng ka mora sena.
Order hustlers. Ngicela ni cross examine hustlers sabana namuhla. Umuntu ke office kuba i-candidate attorney uShasvika Patha. Lentokazi yona ithi ifuna ukuba matasatasa laphana kwenye i-law firm ebizwa ngokuthi iNika Mahlangu Attorneys eseGoli. Lentokazi bafethu ifundile ngempela njengoba ke ine LLB eyifunde ke isebenzisa yona iUnisa. Lentokazi manje ikhonile ukukhombisa ukuthi inalo ikhono njengoba ke ikhonile ukuthi ehambe laphana iyo drafter a letter of demand for a client yakhe. I summon you to check out this.
Sash, I'm now going to give you task 2. Task 2 is a task that's going to be out of the High Court. It's a summons that you're going to be drawing for me. Now, this is a completely different matter. In this matter, our client is Mr. Billington. Mr. Billington. We've got a file already opened for him. I'm going to give you the file. Mr. Billington did some work for Mr. Castillo. Mr. Castillo. He provided some aluminium frames and windows and that type of thing, and they had agreed on a price that Mr. Castillo was supposed to pay, and Mr. Castillo has not paid. We have already gone through the route of a letter of demand, and all of that's all expired. So Mr. Billington is of the view that Mr. Castillo is not going to pay unless we issue summons. You would need to draw the summons and the particulars of claim that go with the summons. We have had a discussion regarding that, so you have an idea as to what the particulars of claim is. It's basically a story that says why the plaintiff is claiming a certain amount from the defendant. So you'd need to do the summons and the particulars of claim for me, and I will need you to do it fairly quickly because once you're done with it, we need to get it into the typing pool. It needs to come out of the typing pool, and I need to sign it, and you need to rush off to court to get it issued before close of business today because it's an urgent matter, so we need to get the summons out from court today, and then we can hand it over to the sheriff for him to serve on Mr. Castillo.
Okay, perfect.
All right,
I'll get started. I would say if you're studying through correspondence, you have to be really disciplined. You have to allocate, okay, at this time, I'm going to study, I'm going to do my assignments. If you do not do that, forget it. You're not going to complete it within the allocated time. Most people take 4 years, but mine was broken up. I took a bit of a break and I went on for 5 years.
Mr.
Mr. Naika, I've made the necessary amendments to the summons as per our discussion.
So you have taken into consideration all the changes that we spoke about?
I have.
Yes, I'm happy with the summons. Okay, Sash, as I explained to you earlier, the important thing now is to get to court and to get this issued at court. The registrar will look through the summons. He will make sure that I have signed it, that the summons does comply with all the necessary rules that are applicable to summonses. He would then affix his signature here as registrar. He would put a court stamp on it and he would issue you with the case number. Okay, so you need to make sure that you comply with all of that and the summons has all of that before you return to the office. Okay. Come back as soon as you're done. All right. Okay. Hi, are you back?
Yes, I am.
How did it go?
It went quite well. I did, in fact, manage to get...
Did you manage to get it issued?
Yes, I did.
Right.
As you can see, there is the stamp. It's stamped. Then,
Yes.
The case number.
Yes.
And the registrar has
He signed it
also
as well.
signed, yes.
Perfect. So that's perfect. So this is now a summons that has been properly issued in the High Court. Right, that's very good. I'm very pleased with that.
Was it an easy process? Not quite. It's the first time that I've been exposed to issuing a summons. I have not encountered any experiences with it before, so I was a bit confused as to what has to be done.
Sash had done well as far as compiling the summons was concerned. There were a few amendments that I needed to make, which you would not have been expected to know, which relate to the rules and regulations of the court, because she has not had that amount of experience as a candidate attorney as yet. So in those areas I had to coach her, but in the areas that I expected her to excel in, she actually surpassed those standards, and I was very pleased with her efforts.
Di rules le di regulations ke dilo tse leng gore boramolao ba ya di latella. Ha o le training ya mosebetsi, expecta go kopana. Ene hape, expecta gore ha nako ntse e ya o tla ithuta wa gona. Cheka dilo kaofela tse le gore wa di gona bophelong ba hao. Ka nako enngwe go etsala gore o feel o ka re dilo di boima ene hape o ka se gone. Ke mo he ma hustlers o lokelang go pusha teng hobane bogoni ba hao bo se bo le haufi. Go tshwana fela le go kganna koloi. Sa pele ha o tsebe go kganna koloi, o lokela go ithuta. Lemoha nako ya mo o ithutang teng go fihlella mo o kgonang go drive naturally teng. For batho ba bangata e ya tshosa ene hape e boima. Go tshwana fela le ha o ithuta mosebetsi. Ka mora papatso, make o ya confessa, at least ka karabo ya iSpani queue ya hae. And our hustler Sashi le ena o fumana experience ya criminal law ko court. Don't miss this.
Uyabona masengigcweka nje ngiyahloniphisa ngoba ke moya enkantolo kumele uhloniphise and respect the law njengoba ke iSpani silaphana ke izona ezinkantolo bafethu samba ke naye umuntu ke ofuna ukuba iyona ke i-candidate attorney yena ke uSash Vika Path ahamba nemento yakhe uMr Naika owayo ke iNaika Mahlanguzi attorneys bafethu ibona ke abantu abasebenza nayo namuhla kodwa ngaphambi ukuthi sabele mgama athi nginikhumbuze ngombuzo wethu wakule viki sithe that attorney is my brother testified the accountant. But the attorney testified he didn't have a brother. Who is lying? Ubaqamba manga abaningi benu ke baqamba manga ngoba ke nigejile abaningi benu bayitholile bafethu. Impendulo yamampela ukuthi no one lies under oath, which means ke le accountant, it was the sister of the attorney. Uyayithola lento. Ake sewubona ke sisters wethu ukuthi yena uqhubeka kanjani.
Sash, today we're here at Randburg Court. We're here to do task 3. We represent an accused today who's been charged for shoplifting, and today is his trial. So what will happen today is the state is going to call witnesses, and the witnesses will give evidence, and our accused may also call witnesses depending on what we are going to put up as our version, and his fate will be determined today. So by the end of today, we would know whether he's going to be found guilty or not guilty.
Okay, and what do you expect of me for task 3?
Okay, you're going to be sitting as my second chair, so what I want you to do is I want you to take notes of what the witnesses say. When you come into court, everything is happening live. You don't have a pause button. When the witness is giving evidence, you have to make a record of what the witness is saying, and at the same time, consider what you would want to ask the witness in cross-examination.
The state closes its case, Your Worship.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, at this point in time, the defense would like to bring an application in terms of section 174. Your Worship, it is trite law that an accused is innocent until proven guilty, and the onus is on the state to prove the culpability of the accused. In this instance, Your Worship, one must set out a prima facie case against the accused, and that obligation rests upon the state. Despite 2 witnesses giving evidence on behalf of the state, it is the defense's respectful submission that no prima facie case has been made against the accused. The witnesses have given an account of what transpired and the manner of their loss, but no accusation or criminal implication has been leveled at the accused. Accordingly, Your Worship, the defense applies for the accused to be discharged in terms of section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act, number 51 of 1977. As the court pleases.
Ms. Prosecutor.
Your Worship, in response of my colleague's application, the state will respond as follows. Your Worship, the state called 2 witnesses that testified as to the time, the place, and the manner in which the crime took place. Your Worship, the 2 witnesses were very precise and they were very concise. They never contradicted each other when it came to cross-examination by my colleague. As a result thereof, the state will request that the application by my colleague be refused as the state has proved its case beyond reasonable doubt and as a prima facie case for the accused to answer to.
I've heard all the evidence from the state witness, and I've considered as to whether there is any prima facie case against the accused. Our constitution dictates that the accused should be discharged at the end of the state case if there is no prima facie case against her. This is cited in the well-renowned case of the state versus Lubaka. Accordingly, the accused is found not guilty and discharged in terms of section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977. This matter is now finalized.
Okay, now that we went through it, do you have any questions?
I have, the accused has been freed. What happens with her bail money?
Okay, fine. as you would have noticed from what we discussed earlier, when the accused was arrested, she paid bail to have her free. Now that the matter has been finalized, it's a matter of paperwork now for her to get her money back. What happens is the clerk of the court will go with her, or she'd ask the clerk of the court to take her through to the clerk of the criminal court, together with her bail receipt that she first had. And that is given in the magistrate's notes recording that she's been discharged, are all put into the file, it's stamped, and they then refund her bail to her. So that's how she gets it back.
It was my first time experiencing something of this nature, so I was quite overwhelmed. Watching Law and Order is totally different to the real deal. So quite an experience, but a learning one.
She did very good note keeping, which is crucial to these types of matters. But she also seemed to have realized that the state witnesses had not said anything that had incriminated the accused. And I thought that was a very intelligent deduction to make, because that was crucial to our case at the end.
And that, my hustlers, is how you swing the verdict to your favor. Kodwa ngabe sifuna ukwazi ukuthi ngabe intokazi izophumelela ke kusicelo sayo sokuthola isikhundla laphana njenge-candidate attorney kule nkampani emnikeza ithuba. Yonke into izenzeka emva kwekhefu. Phinde futhi sihlangane-ke nayo career coach yethu azabakhuluma amazwi anzulu akunikeza nina-ke laba-ke abafisa ukungena endaweni yomthetho bafethu. Kodwa mina ethi ngiyenzeka nje. You have been legally served to go to a break. Tata.
Hi, Sash.
Hi.
Thank you for waiting for me. It was a really long day, wasn't it?
It was.
I'm sure you must be eager to hear the feedback on all the tasks.
Quite anxious.
Good, so I thought we'd cover each of the tasks that you had done. That for me was an indication of how you performed for the day. I'm going to start with the first task that you did, which was the letter of demand. I know it was the first letter of demand that you have done, so it was expected of you to make certain mistakes or have amendments done to it. As I told you, there was no high expectation that your letter of demand needed to be flawless. But I was satisfied that you had the basic elements embodied in the final letter that went off. With the summons that you had done, it was a high court summons, and with summonses, there are a lot more formalities involved. With that, you would have found that I was a little bit more particular as to what needed to be done, and there were more changes and alterations that I needed to make. And you must not be deterred by that. That's largely because at this stage you are not really exposed to some of the rules and regulations of the court. So regarding the summons, I was quite pleased with how you managed that. I'm sure you must have quite enjoyed the criminal part, which was the third task for the day.
My favorite.
What I noticed as an observation is that as the day progressed, you settled in a lot better and you were a lot more serious, and your attention to detail was a lot sharper. So given that, I am now happy to tell you that after assessing you for the entire day and watching you for the tasks that we had assigned to you, I am pleased to tell you that your application for position as a candidate attorney with Naika Mahlangu is successful, and I'd like to wish you a happy stay with us. So welcome aboard.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
Well, it's quite a relief that I've been successful with this interview. Had I not been successful, I don't know where to from here, because one of the requirements for studying towards an LLB degree is that you have to serve articles. My message for the viewers is that the world is your oyster, the sky is the limit. On that note, pressa, pusha, panda.
Yabona hustlers emakhaya ngumjitha oyithembe kakhulu, kodwa masubeka uSash Vika phambi kwami, hayi ngiyakutshela angiboni lutho hayi angangiqeda ngoba intokazi ngempela yona intokazi eyithembe kakhulu njengoba ke ihambile enza ama-task engakaze yawenza ngaphambilini ngokukhulu ukuzithemba ngathi kudala yenza lo msebenzi into engayisho ukuthi sithalala kuwena njengoba ke ususuthuli and now the dust is about to settle down sibona ukuthi into zakho ziyoma kanjani into engayisho khona manje ukuthi ngidotsa zethu intabo sengizithumela manje lapha la kusisipula njengoba ke azonikeza nina lapha emakhaya abasazama ukungena endaweni yomsebenzi i-advice ukuthi ningakwenza kanjani khona lokho njengoba ngithi over to you sisipula.
Dipotso tsa rona ka jeno di tlile ka email. Potso ya pele e tswa ko Kwame a re ena o batla go tseba tse ding tsa di-careers within law except go ba attorney. Eo ke potso e ntle haholo Kwame ke gobane ka jeno re bua ka yona career eo. O ka sebeletsa di-NGO kapa di-public interest organizations. Ba hira di-law graduates go tla o thusa ka melao ya di-trade unions ya di-human rights le tse ding. Government le yona e hira di-lawyer go tla o thusa ka di-international law go sebetsa ko parlamente ene hape lo sebetsa ko municipality council go thusa go drafta di-contracts di-proposals le tse ding. Empa if o batla go sticka to criminal justice di-state attorney ke di-options tse di leng teng, magistrate, family magistrates ke tse ding tsa di-options tsa hao. Ha re mane ko African Leadership Academy re ilo bona gore our hustler o re tliseditse eng.
My name is Busisi Jambat. I'm 19 years old. I'm a Congolese by nationality and I stay in Kyangwa Refugee Settlement in Uganda. In 2010, I realized that there was a challenge of clean water in Kyangwa Refugee Settlement, and I had to make connections and bring in someone who can fund my project, clean water project, and we had to bring engineers from the nearest town, and had to constructed 10 wells, that is the hand dug wells, and this was the water that we distributed in the whole community to serve the 6,000 refugees in the refugee settlement. Fortunately, we had a charitable organization from USA called the Cody's Foundation, and this organization, when we contacted it, it was positive to our idea. The message I can have for young people is being determined and first realizing the challenges that they are facing in the communities. They might not be able to solve them immediately, but even if you have no funds, tell a friend, tell the world. People are able to understand you, and they will be able to help you in most of the challenges you are facing.
To cheese asenna ke ntsentwena le wena wa tseba ke Shash Vika o yena motho wa ditaba tse kaofela ke re hey joba ke sithi the court is now adjourned sifike emaphethini lokuhlele lethu bafethu sithi halala kuye uSash wenza umsebenzi omuhle awenzile bafethu mina ngithi ke ngiziqhumana naye ngimbhelele ukuthi abe yilawyer yami yabona ngoba ke nami ngiyathamba ukuthi yena una yonke into engidingayo from an attorney mina umbona kamntambo kuthenza zonke intambo sengiqhuma kanje ngithi kuyehlangana nathi kuvike ezayo njengoba ke khombisa indlela ezintathu ukuthi ungangena kanjani njenge-volunteer khona ke uzoshintsha impilo yakho ushintshe nempilo zabantu ke ozabe ubanceda. Khumbula ukuthi ungaxhumana nathi kanjani sithi sikhona lapha ku www.ispani.co.za noma ke xhumana nathi lapha ku Facebook and click on like ukhulume nathi Canada, or follow us on Twitter ku @ispani on SABC1 @ispani on SABC1. Hlala ngikutshela ngithi press push phanda ungapheli umoya faka umoya, and remember, don't look down, look up and stay up. The court is adjourned.